Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be trying something a little bit new. I'm going to be giving you some pointers that might help you if you're trying to beat Arctic Lights. Now personally I really like this level, even though I had an incredibly frustrating experience with it. I think it's fairly balanced. It's only about a minute long, so it doesn't get terribly boring. But I have heard a lot of people complain about it, so be warned, you definitely might find it frustrating if you decide to give it a go. Either way though, I think it's a very solid level and will definitely sharpen your wave skills if you decide to try it. Now we're going to move backwards through this level because that's how I'd recommend practicing it. You really want to be pretty good at everything past 67 or the level starts to get pretty unbearable pretty quickly. No! Oh, come! No! Yeah, you'll want to make sure you're pretty good at the end of this level. So let's first look at this post-wave section. This cube here is pretty self-explanatory. For this ship, the best advice I can give you is not to click more than you have to. The second spike gap is much tighter than the first one, so I recommend that you use this last click here to get lined up for the second one, and err on the side of being too low through this straight fly. Hit this black orb late and fall down a bit before you hit this yellow orb, or you'll hit these spikes at the top. And here's what that should look like. On my winning run I accidentally missed this black orb, which I don't really recommend. Now both here and here there are invisible gravity portals from the top to the bottom of these areas that'll flip you even if you don't hit the orbs. With that in mind, I think the easiest way to do this part is to hit this green orb, but skip this one and just let the portal flip you back, which will set you up pretty well for this last mini ship. Alright, so this part's a little bit awkward. I'd click immediately here. Getting in between these spikes is one of the toughest parts of this last section. I think the best approach is learning to hit this black orb here late enough so that you can jump through the spikes as soon as you hit the ground rather than trying to time the jump from on top of the platform. This dash orb is another tricky part, so make sure you put some attempts into getting the release timing down. After that though, the level is essentially over. Hitting this black orb late is a little bit helpful, but all these timings are pretty forgiving. Now let's break down the wave. For the sake of the video, we're going to start from the beginning, but I'd recommend practicing this in reverse as well. This first section isn't too bad, but it'll probably take a bit to get consistent at. For me, this spam was deceptively tough. I'd say don't be afraid to click fast, but don't click too wildly, and try to be as consistent with your clicks as you can. Don't be afraid to stop clicking right here since these slopes won't kill you. This next part is really pretty hard. 42% in particular is pretty widely regarded as a major choke point in this level, but with enough practice I was able to get pretty consistent at this part, so it's definitely doable and will get easier with time. Right here it's tempting to double click really fast to get over this saw blade, since that's what you have to do at 42, but you'll crash into this slope here. So instead, I'd do 2 controlled clicks to get through this part. What makes 42% tough is that it depends a lot on how you play the previous part. The best pointers I can give you are to let go early here, then do a very quick double click to get into this tunnel as low as you can, and avoid this little bastard right here. Here's how that would normally look. Now on my winning attempt I got really lucky. I was pretty high, but I managed to sneak in anyways. But most of the time I could tell whether I would live before I even got to 42, just because it's very difficult to recover if you don't let go early enough right here. And getting out of here is pretty tough too. Click fast here, but not too fast or you'll hit these stupid spikes right here. Now I do this part differently than pretty much everyone else I've seen. Instead of double clicking here, I just let go really early here, which lines me up to let go here and make it into the gravity portal without realigning myself. Doing it this way cost me a lot of attempts, because as you can see it's pretty tight, but I found it more consistent than double clicking to realign myself. Your mileage may vary though, so I'd try both strategies here and decide which one suits your skill set better. This spam also gets easier with practice. I wouldn't use the music for these clicks since it doesn't really line up, but it gets consistent pretty quick. For me, this was one of the easiest parts of the wave. Just make sure you let go fast right here so that you don't let this little guy ruin your run. Click faster than you think through here, and then I recommend 3 clicks to get through this last part since that'll line you up well for the dual portal. Now this part sucks at first, and in my opinion it's the only part of the level where dying didn't really feel like my fault. It just takes a bit of getting used to, and it's not always obvious why it isn't working, but eventually I was able to do it pretty much every time, so practice makes perfect. What I'd advise is aiming for the middle here and here, then a long click here and short tap here. I know that explanation is weird, but I promise it gets easier over time, and the level does give you some help with the platform you can slide on here, which is nice. Here comes another tricky part, but one that also becomes very consistent with practice. Aside from just playing attempts on it to get it down, the best advice I can give is that I found making each of these 3 clicks roughly the same length to be helpful. This last one comes at you quick, so be ready, and don't let go too soon or you'll hit that spike at the bottom. As you come out of this section, wait longer than you think to start going up once you hit the speed change. Getting in and out of this spam is tough, especially with the invisible speed change around here. I found it most consistent to do 3 even clicks, and a 4th one to get aligned with this tunnel. If you're good enough at spam though, you might be able to just spam through here and maybe use a double click to realign yourself. Either way, make sure you practice this part a lot and get familiar with where the speed changes. Most of the rest of the wave is pretty forgiving, but definitely awkward. Some people like to do a double click here. I found that to be riskier than clicking late here and just letting go, but try it out if you want. Practice this part a lot though, because dying here repeatedly is frustrating to say the least. Lastly, let's look at the pre-drop. Honestly, I think this is probably the hardest part of the level in terms of raw difficulty of timings, but it gets easier and easier the longer you play. It's hard to give much specific advice here other than to just throw attempts at it, but let's give it a shot. Now right out the gate, if you're playing at a low FPS, this slope will just drop you right onto this platform. But if you're using the bypass, you'll need to perform a pretty tricky timing or you'll hit all this crap right here. Now I struggle to find a good visual cue for this. I think the best thing to do is to click roughly when the center of the cube is aligned with this edge here, but honestly I had better luck just throwing attempts at it until I got a feel for it. But since I play on 144, I didn't really have to worry about that for the completion. There isn't a ton of advice I can give you on most of these timings. Some of them are tough at first, but they generally get easier with time. Hitting this pink orb on the late side will help set you up well for this blue orb. This ball is definitely annoying at first, and especially these blue orbs can be rough. I found it helpful to click late here and do 4 evenly spaced clicks to get past this part. Finally, for this ship, make sure you're high enough to avoid all this crap here, then stop clicking early here. I like to do 1 click in this area to get up to the yellow portal, and the rest is fairly self-explanatory. Good luck if you decide to go for this level. Despite how I reacted, it's probably one of my favorite 9 Circles levels in the game, even if I did have an incredibly frustrating experience playing it, and it's definitely a good level to hone your wave skills. Just don't throw 15 plus attempts past 70 like I did. Also, I recommend low detail so you can actually see where the hell your wave is on screen, but that's a personal thing, I guess. Now, let's put it all together. That's so lucky, dude. Yes! Yes! Oh my god, I'm so... There's relief, but I do not feel accomplished beating this. Like, there's so many attempts where I should have just finished it, dude. Okay, this is a good level. Like, this is not a bad level. I'm just... It's frustrating how long this took me, because it just is unbelievable how many attempts I threw for no reason. Also, I cannot believe I survived that freaking ship, because I've never played it like that. Okay, well that's well over 10,000. Thank God, dude. I'm never touching this stupid level again.